Today we are in a place I've never been to before. It's called Porlligat. This is across the border from Spain into France on the southern coast. It is absolutely stunning. Famous for its anchovies, which we tried last night. Last night I picked up Stephanie from Perpignan station. She'd come down from Paris. And today we're actually not vlogging here, although maybe one day we should. We are going to Figueres over in Spain to find out about the famous Salvador Dalí, a place I've always wanted to go to, his theatre museum. Before we do that though, I have to comment on your outfit, Stephanie. Stephanie, in my life, I've known her for a very long time, has not always been the most business sort of minded person, but my goodness, you are dressed for the part today.
The reason I am here is because we're actually signing papers for the business to set up this whole travel channel, which is why I had to come. So I thought to myself, what to wear? And I figured my inspiration was Southern European business Barbie.
Southern, let me get the full look.
Southern European business Barbie.
Let me have a look.
Wait, it looks better with the laptop case.
Oh yes,
yeah, that finishes it off.
Oh my goodness.
Ready for anything.
They're going to give you that paperwork before you even get in the door.
Okay, so sign the paperwork and go to a museum.
We're going to be late, we have to go. So here we are outside the Dalí Theatre-Museum in Figueres. The reason it's in Figueres is that this is the hometown of Dalí and his family. Dalí, in fact, was baptised in the church over there. He's buried actually under the stage of what was the theatre. And he had his first art exhibition when he was 17 in the theatre as well.
So hearing this, you might think, well, he's not a man who got around a lot, but it's the opposite. He lived all over the world, spent many years in America, and he would move even throughout the year. His most permanent home was not far from here, and he lived there perhaps 6 or 7 months of each year at the most.
So during the war, this municipal theatre where Dalí had done his first exhibition had burnt down, I think in 1939, so it was a total wreck. In 1960, the mayor of Figueres contacted Dalí and said, as this is your hometown, it'd be really great if we could have a piece of art from you. And Dalí said, I can do better than that. I'm not just going to send you a piece of art. I'm going to create this piece of art as a theatre museum, and I'm going to fill it with my private collection. So obviously I think the mayor was very pleased. And in 1968, after much planning with architects, this place was built. So this isn't a museum that is dedicated to Dalí. Dalí actually created this theatre museum as a piece of art, so it's very different to normal sort of artist museums.
And you can see how incredibly popular it is. Nearly 1 million visitors a year come here, and Dalí described it as his single largest surrealist work of art.
Desperate to go inside, let's go and have a look. The first room you come into is where the theatre auditorium used to be before it was burnt down. In fact, you can still see the charred remains of the struts that were holding up the boxes that all the theatre goers used to sit in. The stage is over there, and actually Dalí is buried under the stage. It's full of all sorts of quirky things. So these lamps here are actually from the Paris Metro, genuine ones from there. They are standing on fossilized snails from the Pyrenees. This is very surreal already. In the middle, we have a Cadillac car that was winched over because the door's too small. And I think that might be some sort of reference to the fact that Dalí had a great fondness for America. He and Gala lived there to escape the Nazis between 1940 and 1948. And it's kind of the place where his career really took off. And he got involved with making movies for Hitchcock and all sorts of things. So America was a big feature in their lives. But it has got a really almost religious tender feel to it, don't you think?
As I came in here, I was expecting to feel many things: awe, shock, maybe some inspiration, but I wasn't expecting to feel moved emotionally. I wasn't expecting to feel a quietness, the sort that you feel on walking into a huge cathedral. And I think that's actually because the love that he had for his wife comes through very, very powerfully here. On the top of the strange column of tyres behind the Cadillac, there's a very simple wooden sailing boat. And that boat belonged to Dalí and Gala, his wife, when they were living near here on the coast in Spain. It represents the many happy years that they had together. They would go out onto the sea, spend days sailing. So what we have here at the very heart of the first room that you step into is a memory and a legacy of the happy times that he had in his life. Dalí met his wife Gala when he was only 25 years old, and they spent the rest of their lives together. But as we're going to see as we walk around the museum, their relationship was a lot more complicated than you may at first think.
These almost look like Oscars, don't they?
It was my first thought, yes,
Yeah.
I saw them.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Dalí was involved with Hollywood. He got to know Alfred Hitchcock, and he did a dream sequence, I think, for the film Spellbound. It's only about 2 minutes of footage, and Hitchcock thought there was no one else on the planet who could best bring to life the feeling of a dream. And I think that's probably where this Hollywood glamour's come to Figueres.
There's a lot of America in this space.
Yeah, it's great. By the way, if you come here, please bring with you some euro coins, because there's lots of little things you can put coins into. And I need to show you one, Stephanie, you'll love this. If you put the coin in over there, and I'm going to look through this window, okay?
So excited.
Look, it started raining.
Oh, no wonder those plants are so happy.
How weird is that?
This is so strange. I nearly said this is so surreal.
Odd sort of dream.
Oh, there's people in the back.
Oh my goodness, there are.
They don't look very happy. Ollie, the sinks. Have you seen the sinks?
I know.
No, but this is really a surreal moment for me, because those of you who watch the Chateau Diaries will know Dan really well, who has bought an abandoned chateau and is restoring it on his channel, Escape to Rural France. And honestly, this is his castle. His castle is just the walls. It was totally burnt down by a hideous fire, and the sinks and the loos are still attached in the bathrooms, but there's no floors. So when you stand in the middle of it and you look up, there's just sinks and loos above you. And I'm realising now, Dan, I think you've bought a surrealist masterpiece.
Dan, you don't have to renovate your chateau at all. It's worth millions already. This is an incredible discovery. And what's interesting is that he had these sinks here because there's a feeling that the rain, this is open to the elements, the rain would purify them and then they would turn into angels. And so in the cupola section over here is a kind of mirror of these, but now they are fully grown, fully formed angels.
This is so bizarre. Let's go and have a look at the angels.
So here we are in the cupola, if that's how you pronounce it. We've been having an argument.
We don't know whether it was copula or cupula.
Copula. Don't think it's copula, Stephanie. That's something else.
Hey, no one said copula. That was your mind. We're sorting this out once and for all. Ready?
Cupola.
Cupola.
Cupola, we were both wrong.
Cupola, hang on. No, but that was the American. Cupola, British is...
Cupola.
Oh, come
You've got
on. Lunch is on you?
Ah, drat it.
So this is where the stage was, but above us is this amazing sort of dome, the cupola dome, and you can see where the sinks have now turned into angels. I love that metamorphosis. So Dan, with your chateau, pour a bit of water on them, and those kind of horrible sinks are going to turn into something absolutely beautiful.
It should have happened by now. He doesn't have a roof.
That's true. Keep watering a little bit more. But this dome, this cupola, is a little bit of a nod to the Renaissance, but also it's a bit of a nod to the fact that Dalí kind of was quite interested in flies. I don't know why, as in insects.
Why does that not surprise me?
And it's got a bit of a sense of an insect's eye about it. So I think one reason he liked them was because they're made up of, the fly's eyes are made up of all these kind of little triangles that form together. There's kind of different lenses and different ways of looking at the world. And I think he liked that. So, you know, with his famous kind of telephone and lobster, it was all around, we have one way of interpreting the world, but that's not necessarily the right way, and there are different ways of looking at it, which I think is really interesting.
I actually love that. As we look through this, we're going to look into different realities.
Yeah, every different part of that is a different way of looking at the world and reinterpreting the objects that are kind of, you know, taken for granted.
Here we are on the stage, and you can see the curtains and this huge painting, which is taken from Salvador Dali's Labyrinth. It's based on the myth of Ariadne and Theseus defeating the Minotaur in the huge labyrinth that the monster lurked within.
And right in front of the Labyrinth painting is this very plain piece of stonework. Under here, and there is an inscription on the bit underneath, but under here is the body of Dalí. And it's really odd to think that people are walking over this. Quite touching, really. What's touching is that his exhibition was here when he was 17, and then he's buried here as well. So this really is the kind of coming back home for his final resting place. And here, underneath the stage, is the actual tomb of Salvador Dalí. Salvador Dalí y Domènech. So in Spain, often people have two surnames. He was actually made a marquis or marquez by the king, who was a great admirer of him. It was in the 80s he was made a Marquess. It's actually hereditary title, although Dalí decided he didn't want it to be hereditary. So you don't often hear of Marquess Dalí, do you? That's what he was. You keep going around this place going, everything's a bit surreal. And obviously, if Dalí calls it surreal, but I guess surrealism means the creative expression of what's in people's subconscious. And I don't know what kind of dream Dalí was having when this one came to fruition, but we've got piano music playing or an organ. A very scary looking person here. Stephanie, what would be the creative expression of your subconscious having woken up in the morning?
Complete blank. I sleep like a log. None of this would come out of my subconscious
Just be a white blank canvas.
No, maybe your little bunny going past.
So just off the cupola is the most incredible room. It's called the Treasure Room, and it's done with this red velvet inlay. Every single picture in here was personally chosen by Dalí, and they're hugely significant and absolutely jewel-like.
It gives the impression of stepping into a womb. It is as though we are in the birthplace of Dalí's art and his creation. These paintings really represent his upbringing, his formative years, and his most important love. So here is the love of Dalí's life. But it wasn't so simple. She was married to Paul Éluard, one of the co-founders of surrealism and a French surrealist poet. At the time, she was also engaged in a long-term affair with the artist Max Ernst, and she had an 11-year-old daughter by her husband. But from the moment they met, it was a great, great love affair, and she ran off with Dalí. She effectively abandoned her daughter, leaving her with her paternal grandmother, and didn't see her that often. She was not a warm woman towards her children. This is the woman that Dalí said was the inspiration of his work, the muse of his life. In fact, from the 30s, he even started to sign his paintings with both of their names, because he said, "It is with your blood that I paint my pictures." And Gaia was not only the love of his life and his muse, she was also his manager. She was his whole life and an almost maternal figure to him, because he lost his mother when he was only 16. And you see here, just in her pose, almost as though she's cradling a child, and there is a slight halo appearing behind her head. This was the most important influence in his life.
It's a beautiful painting as well, isn't it?
It is. The hyperrealism is extraordinary. I mean, you could just reach in and just touch the bracelet. It's exquisite. And here he's placing himself very clearly in the tradition of the great artists, because as you see, he's called her Gallerina. And that is a reference to Raphael's painting La Fornerina. You can see the pose is so similar. He is continuing in the tradition of the great masters.
I absolutely love this painting of her over here. I have to say that with most of Dalí's picture, when I look at them in sort of books and so forth, I find them really, really interesting and fascinating, but I'm not emotionally moved by them. I've changed my mind here though. This painting, it does something more for me here. Isn't it beautiful?
Ah, it's her as Leda and the Swan.
Yes. And in the background are sort of the cliffs which are inspired by Cadaqués, on the same coast that I live. So I think also that's why I can see this coastline everywhere.
Yes, and the landscape keeps coming back in his paintings.
It keeps coming back, absolutely.
And the idea of myth and this timelessness, again, coming through in all of the work.
Doesn't she look absolutely beautiful there? It's kind of emerging from the painting. It's really, really stunning. It's called Leda Atomica, and it's really interesting. This came after the war, and everyone was very much focused on this, the awful power of the atomic bomb and so forth. And also the discovery that actually there's no such thing as a solid. All solids are made up of atoms with space in between them. So you can see here that all the objects are floating with space between them, and that's why Dalí himself was fascinated by the science of the nuclear age.
But there's something else very interesting here. He's chosen the myth of Leda and the Swan. Now, this is the moment that Zeus rapes Leda in the form of a swan. And I find it quite symbolic of his relationship with his wife, which was unusual to say the least. They had an open marriage, but on top of that, he very much liked seeing his wife with other men. She herself had a predilection for increasingly younger men. She was already 10 years older than Dalí, but by the end of her life, after a series of affairs, when she was 87 at the time of her death, she was having an affair with a 22-year-old American actor who was playing the part of Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar. Really, their lives could not have been any more surreal than his art.
So when we think about the most flamboyant artists, say of the 80s and stuff, it was all around show and making big statements to shock people. Dalí did that. He was definitely all about show and making statements to shock people. But what's profound about him is that underneath that was this incredible technical skill. He was an immensely able artist from a very young age. Over here, for example, this is Cadaqués, which is where he later built a house. It's where the family used to go for holidays. It's on the coast near here. You can see the kind of influence of Picasso and Cubism there. That's a really beautiful painting, and he was only 19 when he did that. Later on, we get surrealism. So over here, late 20s, early 30s. You can see the styles evolved, hasn't it? And later on, we get in the 40s, realism. And look at this painting. So the date of this is really significant. It's 1945. And it's a simple loaf of bread. But think about the time, 1945, Europe ravaged by war. Bread was gold. Bread was life. So we've got the gold bread here, and we've got this incredibly beautiful and fresh looking loaf. You could almost reach into that, couldn't you? It's hyper-realism. It's absolutely stunning, but it's also deeply symbolic of the ravages that Europe had been through in this rebirth of life after the war.
And even the choice of the frame itself is showing us this is the most precious thing we have. When there is nothing else, the most important thing is bread. It is life.
He could paint in all sorts of different styles, couldn't he?
As you walk in, you think, well, surely that's a Matisse. But then you realise, no, it's a satirical composition on a Matisse. And then again, you see what looks like a Picasso or a Braque. And it just keeps changing as you walk around. He could paint in absolutely any style. And here he's playing with the idea of pointillism. You have a sort of mixture of Seurat and Matisse here in what I think is my favourite painting in this room. It's called The Smiling Venus. It's absolutely delightful. She's having a wonderful day. He's trying all of these different elements, but he has his themes, like the atomic theme, that keep coming through. And another man that he was fascinated by was Einstein, especially the theory of relativity. And you see that in the clocks that melt, this idea that time is not fixed, it's totally mutable. Though, of course, with Dalí, there's always an element of playfulness. And he himself said that the melting clocks just came from looking at a melting camembert. It's not only the clocks that were melting, but his very self. And is that the same idea, that time is not fixed, but neither are people? Personality is constantly mutable, and that is what's coming across in this soft self-portrait. When you think how hard it is to capture someone's likeness in a portrait, how mind-blowing is it that he really has captured Gala? We knew immediately who it was, with just spheres.
So talented. This is a really fun room. So here you're looking at this and you're seeing the sofa, which is a pair of lips, and you're seeing the big nose and the two pictures, and you're thinking that's quite interesting. But look over here that all these people are queuing up.
It's incredible. It's a face.
It's actually Mae West.
And there's the hair and the earrings.
It's brilliant,
everything.
isn't it? It's absolutely
perfect.
amazing.
It's so clever. This is fabulous.
What an imagination.
Yeah, a theatrical imagination, all times. We're standing in a room with the most extraordinary ceiling. But the interesting thing to me is that he painted this ceiling at the same time as he painted a ceiling for Gala in the beautiful castle that he bought for her. And he said that he liked to paint the ceilings above Gala's head because when she looked up and thought of heaven, she saw him. The central figures of this ceiling are Dalí and Dalla, rather unusually seen via their feet. We can see Dalí's in the blue trousers, and he and Gala are reaching up, and they are surrounded by memories, illusions of their life together and their work.
Can you see how he's got drawers in his body? I wonder if that's around the sort of different compartments we have in our life. Private bits and the public bits.
Maybe, Ollie. But Dalí also had a representation of the Venus of Milo, again with drawers. The idea being that you could open up and see inside her body to her very soul.
Very convenient place to put your iPhone, I'd say. Little knee drawer. This would really save me having to have a man bag.
Ever the practical man, Ollie.
Absolutely.
Ever practical.
Yeah. Stephanie, I'm really excited. I found another Euro slot machine. I'm such a big spender today.
We're not going to have anything left for dinner tonight.
I have no idea what's going to happen. It looks like a man in armour.
All right, go for it. It does look like a man in armour. Strange. Oh.
Right.
Is anything going to happen?
Oh!
Oh, oh,
Oh, look!
oh, something is happening. I thought it had broken.
I was prepared to be
it?
disappointed, but I'm far from disappointed. It's amazing. Look at that.
But what is it? It's coming towards us. The whole painting is slowly appearing.
Wow.
I suppose this is the afterlife because it's growing just above this sarcophagus. Or maybe it's the thoughts of the dying man.
It's really, really amazing. Despite his sort of reputation as someone who shocked people and so forth, he actually was quite a religious man, and I think towards Catholicism big time towards the end of his life. This whole place does have that religious feel, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, it's going back
Yeah,
now.
it's actually almost more moving as it slowly disappears. It's as though here you see the man with all of the objects and the things that there were in this life, but there you see just disappearing from him the interior world, the actual life that he lived, all of the colour and the excitement. That is what just slowly disappeared above him.
Look at that. Slowly disappearing away. Well, I think that was a euro well spent. On a less profound note, high five for his bed. I mean, look at this. These are cool.
That is some bed.
Now listen, I could live without the skeleton at the end of my bed,
Yeah, just the bed really.
but the fish. And then the boat shell plant pot.
Well, haven't you got a boat shell plant for Ollie?
But I need one.
Oh no, I have one in every room.
Look at the sofa over there, which has the kind of parts removed from the sky. I don't know if that references time travel, malleability of time and space.
It's amazing. All I'm seeing there is cracking bit of Art Nouveau furniture.
So we've gone upstairs now, and we can see the sailboat that we saw when we first came in.
Oh yes.
And what I've noticed now, there's an umbrella on the top. Look.
Well, to be fair, you never know when you're going to need a brolly, Ollie.
Yeah, you know, you go into
Ollie.
go into a storm, open up the umbrella on top of your boat. Very good design.
All-weather boat.
It's not only Dalí's paintings in his museum, he hand-picked certain artists that he wanted to be here. And one of these is someone called Antoni Picciott. He was so inspired throughout his life by the landscape of his birth, the Cadaqués coast. And you know when you're looking at clouds and things and you can see figures in, I think he was doing that with these rocks, because look at this. When you step back from these rocks, you can see a man. And it's the same kind of thing when we're looking up at clouds, that we can see figures and animals and so forth. Well, I do anyway. It's really cool. Look at this.
That is beautiful.
Who would have thought you could make something so touching out of a pile of rocks?
And it is. It's a really tender moment. Somebody lying in abandon with their arm over their head. It's beautiful.
I love it. If I could take one painting, this would be it, I think.
Yeah.
I never have thought. Absolutely lovely. I won't take one painting.
Here we are in the jewel room. Now this room's been added on recently, but it is an exhibition that was seen during Dalí's lifetime. The year before the opening of the big Theatre-Museum, they managed to get all of these jewels together to exhibit them here. He designed all of them. And so now they've been brought back by the foundation and they're back in the museum. And they are exquisite. I don't think about Dalí as a jewellery designer. I don't know about you, but he was an absolute master at it.
Oh my goodness.
That's one object. You see the apple at the top, and there you have little caterpillars on the leaves, beautiful butterflies. And again, there's the symbol of the roots that you see on his labyrinth painting as soon as you walk into the main stage of the theatre.
Isn't that incredible? The sort of coral background. It's absolutely exquisite.
I could look at these for hours.
This is this preparatory drawing.
What an imagination he had.
And over here, for one of my girls, Ophelia.
Ah, yes, Ophelia, 1953.
Do you think they sell this in the gift shop? Might be a bit expensive.
Oh, but surely nothing's too good for your daughter, Ollie. like a bit of bling. But this stone takes things to a whole new level.
It's quite large. Oh my goodness, you can see his face in there.
It's her face. Here is his study for it, and it gives us the name Daphne, so it all starts to make sense. Daphne was the nymph who was fleeing because she did not want to be caught. And as she did so, she saved herself from his advances by turning into a tree. And this is that moment of metamorphosis that he has captured. You can still see her face. The roots are her hair.
Wow. This is an unexpected pleasure at the end. So we have to go now, but I'm going to ask you, what's your favourite thing? I always do that. What's your favourite thing in the museum?
I know the answer without a shadow of a doubt. Daphne. Absolutely Daphne.
Yeah. She's lovely.
And you, Ollie?
I think I've been swayed by the jewels too. And I think for me, it's the angel wings. I could look at those all day.
Those delicate angel wings.
I'm so glad we popped into this, because this is past the exit. And we popped into here, even though we were a bit short of time, but my goodness, it was worth it, wasn't it?
Yeah, master designer of jewels.
And now we have to go to dinner.
Oh, thank goodness, my feet are thanking you.
Oh dear.
Yeah, the whole Mediterranean business Barbie look, it is falling apart, I'll be honest.
Yeah, we've had quite a tricky afternoon after the Dalí Museum. With Spanish bureaucracy, it's been fun.
Didn't get any of the paperwork that I came to do, but hey, we saw the Dalí Museum and we are going to eat the anchovies. Let's find a restaurant, Ollie. We're leaving Collioure. It's been so pretty. We have to come back here, Ollie, because we barely had any time to see the town.
I know. We did see a little bit of it last night, but it was very wet, wasn't it?
It was, and drizzly.
With suboptimal.
Unpleasant.
But I have got, look, we're taking Stephanie back to the train station now, then I'm going to drive back to Barcelona. But I did mention yesterday that I had my own Dalí collection. In fact, Ophelia and I are regular collectors of Dalí, which I know you think I was joking, but I'm not. If you reach into the pocket of my bag, you'll find I'm actually carrying my own
pocket of bag.
Dalís.
Back bit. Oh, I can't see any.
What can you see in there?
I can see, hang on. I can see an adapter, passport, Chupa Chups, comb.
Yeah, that's it. Can you bring out the Chupa Chups, please? Can you look at the top of the Chupa Chup?
It says Chupa Chup.
Yeah, well, Dalí designed the Chupa Chup logos. So Ophelia and I are regular collectors of Dalí masterpieces.
Nice.
Particularly like the strawberry flavoured.
Oh, wait, pause. Can you pull in here? We can get anchovies.
Yeah, if it's open.
Is it open? Is it open? Is it open? They do amazing anchovies.
Yes.
Yes! 2 huge buckets of the famous anchovies. So one to take back to Lalande, one's going to Barcelona with Ollie. We get the anchovies! Yes, Ollie, it's happened! Yes. We have them!
Yeah, can we open them now? No, that would all go very badly.
We definitely cannot open the anchovies
not with
now.
my driving.
We can, however, open Dalí's great masterpiece, the Chupa Chup.
Yeah,
Right.
Exactly, we'll do that. Doesn't get much better than this, does it?
It absolutely does not.
I'm quite interested in the anchovy Chupa Chup taste combination, but maybe I'll wait till I get home for that.
Yeah, no, we're not discovering that now. Bye-bye from Collioure, everyone.
Bye-bye, safe travels.
And enjoy your Chupa Chups.
Yes.